Hello everyone, I am the storyteller, and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching? Now get comfortable and relax. The cabin smelled of old cedar and something else. Something metallic and stale, like pennies left in a forgotten drawer. I'd rented it for 3 weeks of uninterrupted work, desperate to finish the manuscript that had been gnawing at me sanity for months. The listing promised solitude, and the owner had been oddly insistent that I take it, dropping the price twice before I'd even made an offer. I should have questioned that eagerness. The hallway stretched longer than it should have. A narrow throat of darkness connecting the living area to the single bedroom. The floorboards groaned under my weight with each step, but it was the mirror that caught my attention immediately, an ornate thing taller than me, its frame carved with symbols I didn't recognize. The glass itself seemed darker than it should be, as if it held shadows even when the light hit it directly. For the first 2 days, I ignored it. I worked at the small kitchen table, my laptop screen the only blue glow in the perpetual gloom of the cabin. The forest pressed close on all sides, trees so dense that even midday felt like twilight. I told myself the isolation was good for creativity, that the weight of silence would force the words out. Then I noticed the delay. It happened by accident. I'd gotten up to stretch, rolling my shoulders as I passed the mirror, and caught my reflection doing the same. Nothing unusual except my reflection moved a heartbeat after I did, not simultaneously. After I stopped, raised my hand slowly, and watched my mirror self echo the gesture with that same subtle lag. 10 minutes. I timed it obsessively over the next hour using my phone's stopwatch. Whatever the mirror showed was exactly 10 minutes behind real time. I waved at 2:15 and my reflection waved back at 2:25. I held up my coffee mug at 2:30 and the mirror showed me doing it at 2:40. Irrational. Part of my brain cycled through explanations. Some trick of the old glass. An optical illusion. Maybe I was more exhausted than I'd realized. But the mirror was consistent, perfectly, impossibly consistent. Minutes. Always 10 minutes. That night I couldn't sleep. The cabin creaked and settled around me, and I found myself wondering what the mirror showed while I was in the bedroom. Was there just an empty hallway frozen in time from 10 minutes prior? Or did it continue its temporal displacement, showing a version of the cabin that existed in the recent past? The questions chewed at me until dawn. On the 4th day I saw him. I'd gone to the kitchen to make coffee, glancing at the mirror as I passed. My reflection walked by right on schedule, 10 minutes delayed. But behind my reflection, deeper in the mirror's version of the hallway, there was someone else, a figure barely visible in the shadows, standing just outside the bedroom door. My skin went cold. I spun around, staring down the actual hallway, empty, completely empty. The bedroom door stood open just as I'd left it, revealing nothing but my unmade bed and scattered clothes. I turned back to the mirror, pulse hammering in my ears. The figure was gone. Just my delayed reflection stared back, looking as terrified as I felt. I tried to rationalize it. A trick of the light. A shadow cast by the trees outside. Maybe a stain on the old glass that resembled a human shape. But my hands shook as I made my coffee, and I couldn't bring myself to look at the mirror again for hours. Work became impossible. I sat at the laptop, cursor blinking mockingly at me while my attention kept drifting to the hallway. The mirror waited there like a patient predator, its dark glass holding secrets from 10 minutes ago. Secrets I couldn't see in real time. That afternoon, I forced myself to investigate. I set up my phone to record, pointed it at the mirror, and walked the length of the hallway 3 times, documenting everything. When I played it back, there was nothing unusual. Just my reflection delayed by 10 minutes, exactly as expected. No mysterious figure, no shadows where shadows shouldn't be. Relief washed over me, followed immediately by embarrassment. I was losing it. Desolation was getting to me. I'd been alone too long, working too hard, sleeping too little. The mind plays tricks under those conditions. Everyone knows that. I decided to go into town the next day, get some human interaction, maybe find a diner with decent coffee. The decision calmed me enough to sleep. But when I woke in the middle of the night, throat dry and head fuzzy, I saw the light from the kitchen spilling into the hallway. I hadn't left any lights on. I was certain of that. I always turned them off. A habit from years of living alone. I lay there listening. The cabin was silent except for my own breathing and the distant whisper of wind through the pines. No footsteps, no movement, just that rectangle of pale yellow light stretching across the hall. Eventually, thirst overcame caution. I crept out of bed, every sense heightened, and moved toward the kitchen. The floor was cold under my bare feet. As I passed the mirror, I deliberately kept my eyes forward, not wanting to see what had happened 10 minutes ago. The kitchen was empty. The light above the sink blazed cheerfully, illuminating the worn countertops and ancient appliances. And there on the refrigerator, the alphabet magnets I'd barely noticed before had been rearranged. My name spelled backward, the letters precise and deliberate. Not Annoy. My actual name is Jonathan. Ice flooded my veins. I hadn't touched those magnets. I'd barely looked at them. They'd been scattered randomly across the fridge door since I'd arrived. Meaningless clusters of vowels and consonants. Now they spelled my name, backward. I stumbled back to the hallway, and this time I did look at the mirror. In its reflection, the kitchen was darker, as it had been 10 minutes ago before I'd entered, but there was someone there, standing in the mirror's version of the kitchen, right where I'd just been standing, a figure, hazy and indistinct, arranging magnets on the refrigerator. Arranging the magnets that I'd just seen in their old kitchen. My mind reeled. If the mirror showed 10 minutes ago and someone had arranged those magnets, then that meant what? That someone had been in the cabin with me 10 minutes ago while I was asleep. That they'd come in, spelled my name backward, and left without me hearing. But that didn't make sense. The magnets were still there now in the present, which meant they'd been arranged more than 10 minutes ago. Which meant the mirror should have shown an empty kitchen from before the arrangement happened, unless the figure in the mirror was arranging them right now in the mirror's present, which was 10 minutes in the past, which meant they'd be arranged in my present now. The logic twisted in on itself, a Mobius strip of temporal impossibility. I checked every door, every window, all locked from the inside. No signs of forced entry. The cabin was as secure as it had been when I'd gone to bed. But someone had been here. Someone had spelled my name backward while I slept, and the mirror had somehow captured them doing it. Or had I done it myself? The thought crept in like poison. Maybe I'd sleepwalked. Maybe the stress and isolation had fractured something in my mind and I was performing actions I didn't remember. It would explain everything. The magnets. The figure in the mirror that looked frustratingly human. Shaped but never quite clear enough to identify. I couldn't stay in the cabin. That became immediately clear. But it was 3 in the morning, and the dirt road leading back to civilization was nearly a mile of dark forest. I'd wait until dawn, I decided, pack my things and leave at first light. I went back to bed but didn't sleep. Instead, I watched the bedroom doorway, listening to the cabin settle and shift around me. At some point, I heard footsteps in the hallway, soft, deliberate, moving from the kitchen toward the bedroom. My whole body went rigid. The footsteps stopped right outside my door. I couldn't see anything in the darkness. Couldn't move. Could barely breathe, then I remembered. The mirror shows 10 minutes ago. If I was hearing footsteps now, the mirror would have shown them 10 minutes ago. Which meant whatever was making those sounds had already passed by. The mirror had already been captured in its temporal reflection, unless the footsteps were my own from 10 minutes ago, somehow echoing through the cabin's strange acoustics, unless I was so exhausted that I couldn't remember my own movements anymore. The footsteps retreated, moved back down the hallway, faded into silence. When dawn finally came, gray and reluctant, I packed with shaking hands. I threw everything into my backpack without bothering to fold or organize. I just needed to leave. Needed to get out before what? I carried my backpack to the front door, set it down while I grabbed my laptop case from the kitchen table. That's when I made the mistake of looking at the mirror one last time. In its reflection, I saw myself walking down the hallway toward the bedroom, carrying my backpack, but that was impossible. I was standing in the kitchen watching the mirror. I hadn't walked anywhere with my backpack. Then I understood horror blooming in my chest like a cold flower. The mirror was showing me 10 minutes in the future, or it was 10 minutes in the past. Or no, that wasn't right. The mirror showed the past. Always the past. 10 minutes ago it must have, but I didn't. I know I didn't. I went straight from the bedroom to the kitchen with the backpack. I never walked down the hallway carrying it, except the mirror said I did. I looked at my backpack sitting by the front door where I'd left it, or where I thought I'd left it. Had I actually left it there? The memories felt slippery, uncertain. Had I carried it down the hallway? Had I already lived those 10 minutes that the mirror was showing me? My phone showed about 45 a.m. if the mirror